Hey, Table Rock Fishing Intel Pro members, Eric Prey, Focus Fishing Guide Service, Table Rock Fishing Intel. Of course, thank you for being pro members and helping support us and helping to make it possible for us to do what we do to get you more information for fishing Table Rock Lake. It is Tuesday, September the 5th. Fished over the weekend, actually spent most of the weekend on Taneycomo, fished on Table Rock today. Bite is still good, bite's still strong, actually catching quite a few fish, and we'll get into that in a minute. As far as our lake level, we are at 913.26, so 3 3/4 feet below normal summer pool. Got a little bit of rain this morning, a little bit of rain last night, but not enough to make any sort of a difference or raise the lake level at all. Water temperature is a little bit cooler, but I honestly think it's because of the rain we got this morning before the sun came up. Got not a lot of rain, but enough that I think it knocked that water temperature down into the around 83, 84 range over the weekend or end of last week. I was seeing a lot of 86s and 87s. So water temperature is probably going to be right back up to 86, 87 at the end of the day with all this sunshine. Bite's been good, bite's been strong. Of course, you guys know with your Table Rock Fishing Intel membership, you can see those daily reports that we're putting out every day. You can see all the other information we put out on a daily basis. Would ask that you recommend it to your friends. Help support us. Help us to continue to bring you information for Table Rock Lake to help you catch more fish, and tell your friends if they're thinking about joining that you are going to save $40 versus where we're going to be once the app comes out. You're going to definitely save some money before the app comes out. Looks like the app will hopefully be out by the middle of next month. Again, we're waiting for the Apple Store and we're waiting for the Play Store to give us final approval. But the app is built, it's ready, it just needs approval before we can actually make it live. But if you're coming down, want to fish the lower end of the lake, I fished the lower end a couple of times last week. It's not as bad as it has been. I will tell you, the bites that are working down there, the bite that's working best all over the lake, but down there especially, is a drop shot bite on gravel and rock mixed main lake points. We're really just not doing well in the trees or doing well around the boat docks like we were a month or so ago. It really, excuse me, you can go catch a few fish on a shad-shaped cut tail, UV drop shot worm, any of those baits, off the ends of docks first thing in the morning, out of the trees throughout the day, but more bites, more fish out on the gravel, anywhere from 22 to about 32 foot deep. If you've got a smaller, narrower point that runs way out into the lake, those seem to be a little bit better, but that bite is definitely strong down there. The other bite, we are catching a few dragging down there with either a Pee Wee HD football jig or the heavy cover football jig or a Carolina rig. Again, that's going to be on gravel and rock mix. Most of those fish are out a little bit deeper. They're 15 to 25 foot deep. Working it slow along the bottom seems to be the key to catch fish doing that. Went up Long Creek last week after a trip just to see if I could catch a few on a buzzbait or a plopper up there, and had a few blow-ups on the plopper but never connected. I did catch 3 fish on a buzzbait. I think only one of them was a keeper, and it was in the very, very back of Cricket Creek. And that fish was probably in a foot of water, a foot and a half of water on a piece of wood. So that bite it's not great yet, but it is coming on even on the lower end of the lake. Going to mid-lake where I was today, drop shot bite is still very strong right here. And again, the gravel points, the long gravel points, has really been key with a shad-shaped cut tail, UV drop shot worm, Chomper's drop shot worm. 22 to 32 feet deep is the magic depth. Keep an eye on your graph. You see one fish, they come up and hit it. You'll usually see a bunch of fish come up when you get a bite. So keep an eye on your graph when you're doing that. The dragging bite is much better in the mid-lake area with either the Pee Wee HD football jig, the spider jig, or Pee Wee spider jig HD, Carolina rig, heavy cover football jig, and even a Texas rig worm. Again, the fish they're not as shallow as they are up the rivers because the water's still pretty clear in the mid-lake, but we're catching them anywhere from about 15 to 25 dragging out there. The topwater bite, to be honest with you guys, I haven't thrown a topwater in the mid-lake. If I were to go out and try to catch them on a topwater, I would probably key on the ends of bigger docks first thing in the morning with either a plopper or a shower blow or something like that. And then the brush pile bite here in the mid-lake has been strong as well with a big worm. And for one reason or another, the bigger the worm, the better. 12 to 14 inch doesn't necessarily mean I'm catching bigger fish on it, but normally, you know, we look at like a 7 or an 8 inch to a 10 inch worm when we're Texas rigging on Table Rock. But for one reason or another, this summer, that 12 or 14 inch worm has been generating a lot more bites. So I've been throwing that bigger worm in those brush piles. The better brush piles for me have been 15 to 20 foot deep, and not really catching a lot out of the really deep brush piles because those are mostly Kentuckies, and I'm just not getting that many bites up in the shallower brush piles, you know, the ones around 10 foot deep. I'm just not getting bites there. Go up into the James, several bites working up in the James. Definitely the dragon bite is probably the best bite we've got going on right now with the Pee Wee HD football jig, Pee Wee HD spider jig, heavy cover football jig, or Carolina rig. And actually the heavy cover football jig is probably the best for one reason or another. They want that bigger jig with the bigger skirt on it and a bigger trailer on it right now. Most of those fish are coming on gravel roll-off points, right where it drops from, say, 10, 15 foot deep down to about 20 to 25 foot deep. Really seems to be key right in there. That's been the best bite for me up there. Colors, it doesn't really matter as long as it's brown or green, but we're certainly catching fish dragging up there. The deep crankbait bite, I have not gotten in on it yet, but I know 2 or 3 guys who have been just absolutely railing on them with a deep crankbait, either a 6.8 XD, DD22, or DT16, whatever you like to throw. But they're all telling me the bite is better in the afternoon when the core is running current, which makes sense. It brings those fish up onto those, off of those roll-offs, off of the deep portion, and off of those deeper ledges, up shallow. And most of them are staying out deep, throwing it up there and dragging it down, just trying to get it right to come off that roll-off and catching those fish right where they're on the edge. But the deep crankbait bite has been strong this past week as well. And then the shallow bite with a buzzbait and a plopper. Again, last week I did a trip up there and decided, well, I'm going to run some creeks and see what the heck's going on. Didn't really catch anything in Ants Creek, so I made a run and went all the way up to Piney. And I did manage to catch a couple of fish on a plopper on the bluff side of Piney, which if you're going in, that's that left-hand side, and parallel in that, and caught a few that. I think they were more relating to cover than they were necessarily the bluff because there was some laydowns and some standing timber there. Went as far back as you can legally go and threw a buzzbait back in there and never had a sniff while I was up there, so the heck with it. Went up to Woolley and ran to the very back of it because you can get shallow back in there. And I did catch a couple of barely keepers around some of the wood cover back there, but you know, with the lake falling, a lot of the really good laydowns and the good stumps that are back in there are high and dry, so a little bit harder on the buzzbait up the James right now. Go up the White River, and of course spent plenty of time up the White River. Shad shape, cut tail, UV drop shot worm, and Chomper's drop shot worm have all been my best baits up there. Colors, plum and morning dawn or natural shad have all been really strong. Aaron's Magic has been actually pretty good if you throw a robo worm up there as well. Spoon bite's been stronger up there than anywhere else, and really the spoon bite, again, it was kind of like last week, and I haven't been up the White since last week, but last week, the spoon or the LS spin, if I see those fish busting out in front of me, or if I see them on my forward-facing sonar, maybe down 10 to 15 foot, I've been throwing at those fish and been catching a few of those. So keep that in mind as well. Have a spoon or LS spin on your front deck. The dragon bite up there has been pretty strong, really from Campbell Point all the way up above Eagle Rock. It's been a pretty strong dragon bite. It seems like it gets better the further up you go. Pee Wee HD football jig, Pee Wee HD spider jig, heavy cover football jig, and a Carolina rig. All those baits are working. Further up you go, this seems like the fish do tend to be a little bit shallower, but if you're down, you know, around Campbell Point through Shell Knob, pretty much all the way up to Big M, most of them 15 to 25. You get above Big M, get up around Eagle Rock. It's not that the water gets any dirtier, it just seems like those fish are a lot shallower up there, and we're catching them from 10 to 20 feet deep up there. So not a lot shallower, but 5 foot's 5 foot. But we are catching them dragging up there as well. And then that topwater bite with the buzzbait and the whopper plopper, any day now that is going to break loose up there. I can run some bluffs with a plopper right now And if I do it for an hour or so, I can usually catch 2 or 3 decent keepers, but not like we normally do this time of year, where you can run just about every bluff you run, you catch 2 or 3 keepers on. This is not happening yet. The buzzbait bite is a little bit better, especially like in, oh gosh, I got up there in the back of Mill Creek and caught a few on a buzzbait in the very back. I caught a few on the kind of channel, swingy type, ledgy stuff on a buzzbait, and caught a few around some laydowns up there as well. So that bite's starting to turn on, but the plopper bite and that buzzbait bite is only going to get stronger as we get further and further into fall, and as the water temperature really drops for real. Guys, fishing's good. Fishing's been good. We're done with the silly holidays this month. We're starting to get the lake back. There was hardly any boat traffic out today, so really feel good about fall. I think we're going to have a great fall bite. But you know, the best way to stay on top of that, use your Table Rock Fishing Intel Pro membership to read those daily reports and find out what the guys are doing, how they're catching them all over the lake, because we got guys covering everything from the dam all the way up the Kings River. So use that pro membership and promote it to your friends. If you got friends or family that fish and they want to fish Table Rock, it's a heck of a resource for you to find out what's going on before you get down to the lake. But if you're coming down, want to hire a guide, give me a call. It's Focus Fishing Guide Service. You can reach me at 417-860-4743, or hit my website, focusfishing.com, where you can either book online or just shoot me an email. Either way, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Thanks for being pro members. Can't wait to hear from you. We'll see you on the water.